Hello, and welcome to Love. Today, we're exploring one of the most profound and overlooked mysteries of human existence, the self. We often assume that we are one unified person, a single identity navigating life. Yet if you pay attention to your thoughts, actions, and desires, you'll notice something strange. There isn't just one voice inside your head. There are many. Sometimes they argue, sometimes they sabotage, sometimes they urge you toward greatness, and sometimes they whisper fears you didn't even know existed. So the question arises, who are you, really? Is the I we carry a single entity? Or is it a dynamic, shifting collection of voices, instincts, and drives, each claiming authority at different moments? Chapter 1. The Illusion of a Unified Self. Philosophers and psychologists have long questioned the notion of a single, coherent self. Nietzsche argued that the self is a society of drives, a collection of competing instincts, desires, and motivations. Every decision we make is the result of internal negotiation, a temporary alliance between these forces. William James, one of the founding figures of psychology, described the self as a stream of consciousness. It's never static. It's constantly flowing, moment to moment. This means that what you call I is more like a stage where countless characters perform. Some are loud and commanding, others silent but persistent. Some are shaped by biology, some by memory, some by society, and others by hidden fears. Even your sense of continuity, the story you tell about yourself, is largely a narrative constructed by one part of the mind, explaining the actions of the rest. Chapter 2. The Neuroscience of Multiple Selves. Modern neuroscience confirms what the philosophers suspected. The brain is not a single executive, but a collection of specialized systems. The limbic system drives emotion and instinct. The prefrontal cortex evaluates, plans, and makes decisions. Memory networks constantly replay past experiences and shape current behavior. Implicit biases, learned habits, and hidden motivations operate outside conscious awareness. Each of these systems can speak in its own way. Sometimes they collaborate, often they conflict. Your inner voice is not singular, it is a chorus, a council of minds within your own head. Experiments with split brain patients further illustrate this. When communication between the brain's hemispheres is severed, one side often invents explanations for actions initiated by the other. It creates a story to explain behavior that it did not control. This suggests that our conscious narrative, the voice we identify as me, is often a posterior rationalization, a storyteller constructing coherence after the fact. Chapter 3. Jung and the Shadow. Carl Jung introduced the concept of the shadow self, the parts of ourselves we deny or hide. The multiplicity of self is not just in competing desires, but in hidden layers. Your inner critic, your doubts, your fears, your suppressed ambitions. These are all voices that exist alongside the persona you present to the world. To live fully, Jung argued, we must confront the shadow. Integrating it does not mean silencing it, but listening and understanding. The multiplicity of self becomes not a curse, but a source of depth and creativity. The self is thus a dynamic network, conscious, subconscious, hidden, and emergent. It is a living system, constantly evolving. Chapter 4. Society and the Many Masks. One reason we fail to recognize the multiplicity within is society itself. From childhood, we are taught to adopt roles: the obedient child, the achiever, the rebel, the caretaker. Each role is a voice, a mask. Depending on context, a different voice takes the lead. At home, one voice may dominate. At work, another. Even our closest relationships trigger different selves. Irving Goffman, the sociologist, called this the presentation of self in everyday life. Life is a stage, and we are actors, constantly negotiating which character should take center stage. The danger arises when we mistake a mask for the true self. We cling to the dominant role, ignoring other voices, and wonder why life feels fragmented, conflicted, or unsatisfying. Chapter 5. Conflict within the inner council. The multiplicity of self often generates conflict. You may feel desire versus discipline, ambition versus fear, impulse versus reflection. This internal council debates constantly. Some members are persuasive, others manipulative. Some represent your best instincts, others the echoes of societal conditioning or unhealed trauma. Awareness is the key. By observing these voices without identifying completely with any single one, you can begin to mediate the council, allowing wisdom to emerge from the dialogue rather than the loudest voice alone. Chapter 6. Meditation and Witnessing the Voices. Eastern traditions have long practiced techniques to observe the mind. Buddhism calls it the practice of mindfulness, watching thoughts arise and pass without attachment. Advaita Vedanta teaches that the self that witnesses the thoughts is the true self, the unchanging awareness behind the voices. Through meditation, one begins to see. Thoughts are not commands. Emotions are not identity. The voice is a tool, not the master. This does not eliminate inner multiplicity. It gives you perspective, space, and choice. Chapter 7. Creativity and the Multiplicity. The many voices inside us are not a problem. They are a resource. Writers, artists, and inventors often channel different selves. One for critique, one for creation, one for fantasy. The multiplicity of self is the engine of imagination, innovation, and insight. Nietzsche wrote about the creative self emerging from inner conflict. The tension between voices generates energy, intensity, and originality. When harnessed, the cacophony inside becomes a symphony. Chapter 8. Modern Psychology and the Fragmented Mind. Modern psychology reinforces the idea that the self is not a single monolith. Cognitive behavioral research shows that different mental systems often operate independently. System 1, fast, automatic, emotional. System 2, slow, rational, reflective. Your inner voice can shift between these systems without you noticing. What you consciously endorse is often a post-hoc explanation, a story the mind tells itself to create coherence. Even memory is unreliable. Neuroscientist Daniel Schachter calls this the 7 sins of memory. Different selves can hold contradictory memories, creating internal tension and confusion. Chapter 9. Social media, the mirror of multiplicity. The digital age amplifies the multiplicity of self. Social media encourages us to perform multiple identities. The curated self, idealized, polished, admired. The reactive self, argumentative, emotional, impulsive. The hidden self, private, suppressed, longing. These fragmented selves are projected externally, often conflicting with each other, increasing anxiety and alienation. The more we try to reconcile them externally, the more the inner council rebels. Chapter 10. The Existential Crisis of Self. When we confront multiplicity fully, we may feel destabilized. Who am I if my inner voices disagree? Which version of myself is real? How do I act authentically? This is the existential crisis of self. Philosophers from Kierkegaard to Sartre have noted that freedom is inseparable from responsibility, and multiplicity multiplies both. Yet, the crisis is also an opportunity. Recognizing inner multiplicity allows for authentic choice, the ability to negotiate and integrate the different voices rather than being dominated by any one. Chapter 11. Integration, from chaos to harmony. The path forward is integration, not elimination. 1. Observe. Pay attention to the voices without judgment. 2. Dialogue. Engage with conflicting desires consciously. Ask, why are you speaking? What do you want? 3. Balance. Allow constructive voices to lead without suppressing the others. 4. Reflect. Journaling, meditation, or therapy can help map the inner council. 5. Express. Channel multiplicity into creative projects, meaningful work, or art. By doing so, inner multiplicity becomes a source of depth, creativity, and self-understanding. You learn to navigate life not as a single identity, but as a dynamic, evolving system of selves. Next time you hear the chatter inside your head, pause and listen. Recognize the many voices. Accept the conflict and tension. Realize that you are not one voice. You are the space in which voices arise. The self is not a fortress to be defended. It is a symphony to be conducted, a council to be guided. Understanding your multiplicity is not a threat. It is liberation. Because the real question is not who am I? It is, can I hear all the parts of me and still choose who I will be?